The screen opens with the soft glow of morning light spilling across rolling green fields. The air feels still, as if the land itself is holding its breath. In the distance, a grand silhouette rises above the mist. Downton Abbey, a house that has seen laughter, heartbreak, war, and love. A house that seems eternal, yet the world around it is changing faster than ever before. What secrets lie waiting in its halls today? The camera drifts slowly over the abbey, catching the sunlight against its stone walls, steady and unshaken. Birds scatter into the sky as the day begins, and the first signs of life stir within the estate. Servants move quickly and quietly through the corridors, their footsteps echoing against polished floors. They carry trays of silver, fresh linens, and steaming kettles of tea, preparing the household for the day ahead. For them, the abbey is not just a grand home but a heartbeat, a rhythm of work and duty that never stops. Upstairs, the family awakens to a different rhythm. Soft voices carry through the bedrooms as curtains are drawn back, letting the sunlight fall gently across embroidered sheets. This is not just any morning. There is a sense of anticipation that clings to the air, as though the walls themselves are aware that something new is approaching. The 1920s are well underway, and with them comes the undeniable rush of modern life. Cars now glide down roads where horses once trotted. Telephones ring in corners once lit by candlelight. And a new sense of possibility has begun to shape the way even the great houses of England must live. For the Crawley family, tradition has always been both a shield and a challenge. The abbey represents the weight of history and the comfort of permanence. Yet beneath its grandeur, there is the subtle whisper of change. Lady Mary, poised as ever, has become a symbol of this balancing act, keeping the estate alive while embracing progress. Beside her, Violet, the Dowager Countess, holds firm to her wit and wisdom, determined to remind everyone that the old ways still matter. And though the abbey stands strong, the world beyond its gates is shifting, daring the family to follow. As the household settles into its morning, the camera lingers on the smallest of details. The shine of silverware carefully placed on a long dining table, the rustle of crisp morning papers laid out for Lord Grantham, the echo of boots polished to a mirror finish. Each detail tells a story of loyalty, pride, and a duty that binds servant and master alike. Yet within this calm lies the first stirring of something greater. A letter is on its way, a message that will ripple through the halls of the abbey and set into motion a series of events that no one, not even the sharp-tongued dowager, could have foreseen. The day may look like any other, but history rarely announces itself with thunder. More often, it arrives quietly in the form of a sealed envelope, resting in the hands of a messenger who does not yet know the weight of what he carries. At Downton, that letter is about to change everything. The mist clings low across the fields, carrying with it the quiet chill of dawn. A single carriage road winds through the countryside, framed by towering oaks and stone walls, before finally revealing the grandeur of Downton Abbey. Its towers rise proudly against the sky, not simply as a house but as a monument, a symbol of endurance. Generations have walked these grounds, and though decades have passed, the abbey remains a sentinel of history, watching the tides of time roll forward. As the camera sweeps closer, life begins to emerge within this stillness. A gardener bends over roses that bloom crimson against the pale stone walls, his hands steady, his back bent with years of work. Stable boys hurry across the yard, voices low, their boots crunching on gravel. In the kitchens, the first pots are already simmering, steam rising into the vaulted ceilings as cooks bustle about with practiced efficiency. Every corner of this estate breathes with purpose. Every life here, whether upstairs or below, moves in step with the pulse of the abbey. Yet beyond the abbey's walls, England itself is changing. The motor car hums louder now, replacing the quiet clip of hooves. Women in the nearby towns wear brighter dresses, their hems daringly shorter, their laughter freer, carried on jazz drifting from gramophones. The world is stretching its arms into modernity, and even Downton, with all its grace and tradition, cannot ignore the horizon. The Great War may be behind them, but its shadow still lingers in silent memories and cautious eyes. Inside, the family begins to stir. Lord Grantham lingers by the window of his study, watching the land that is both his legacy and his burden. He knows the Abbey is more than stone and mortar. It is a promise, a link to ancestors, and a gift to future generations. But promises are not kept by wish alone, and cracks, though small, begin to show in the gilded walls. Lady Mary, ever determined, already walks with the weight of these responsibilities. Her footsteps down the long corridors echo differently than before, sharper, more certain, as though she knows her place is not just as a daughter, but as the steward of a changing era. The Abbey itself feels alive, as though it senses the approaching storm of transformation. Light pours through stained glass, scattering colors across the marble floors. The long dining hall waits in silence, chairs neatly arranged, cutlery shining like weapons prepared for a different kind of battle. The battle between old ways and new. The servants below stairs whisper about the latest motorcar models, about cinema stars whose names are spoken with awe, about the possibility of a world where tradition is not the only master. And so Downton stands at a threshold, a place where the weight of centuries meets the breath of modern life. A house filled with memory, yet touched by the hum of change. What lies ahead is not only a new story for the Crawley family, but the dawning of a new chapter in history itself. This is not just another morning at the Abbey. This is the beginning of a new era. The morning moves with its usual rhythm, but somewhere beyond the great iron gates of Downton, a rider approaches. His bicycle rattles over the country lane, wheels hissing against gravel as he leans forward, clutching a sealed envelope close to his chest. To him, it is one of many deliveries, no heavier than the others tucked in his satchel. Yet within this letter lies the seed of change, small and quiet, but powerful enough to stir every corner of the Abbey. The boy dismounts at the servant's entrance, handing the envelope to a waiting maid who barely glances at the seal. To her, it is another task among dozens, another message to be carried upstairs, another weightless duty in the endless cycle of life below stairs. But as the letter passes from hand to hand, carried through kitchens and corridors, a sense of unease seems to trail behind it, as if the paper itself hums with anticipation. At last, it rests on a polished silver tray, waiting to be delivered to Lady Grantham. She receives it while sunlight spills through tall windows, her face serene as she breaks the wax seal. The room falls into a hush, the kind of silence that carries an invisible weight. Her eyes skim the words, and though her expression barely flickers, something shifts in the air around her. A trace of curiosity, a whisper of surprise, the faintest spark of worry perhaps. The letter carries news of an invitation, a summons of sorts, written with elegance and formality. It speaks of the south of France, of a villa with secrets tied to the family's past, of matters long left unspoken that now demand attention. The words are carefully chosen, polite on the surface, yet between the lines there is an urgency, a promise that old ghosts have not been laid to rest. Lady Grantham folds the letter with deliberate calm, but the message cannot be folded away so easily. Already questions are taking root in her mind. Why now, after so many years? Why her, of all people? What truth lies hidden beneath the ink? She does not speak at once, but her silence is louder than any voice in the room. Around her, the Abbey waits, its walls attentive, as though it too understands that this letter has opened a door that cannot be closed again. Downstairs, whispers begin to stir. Servants trade speculation in hurried tones, wondering what tidings the letter has brought, inventing tales of inheritance, scandal, or opportunity. For those below, the fate of the family is more than idle curiosity. It is the foundation of their own lives, the thread that ties their futures to the Crawleys. What touches the family touches them all. In that moment, the Abbey itself seems to pause. Outside, the countryside carries on as always, the wind bending grass in the fields, the clouds drifting lazily overhead. But within these walls, the weight of destiny has shifted. A single piece of paper has set wheels in motion, wheels that will carry the Crawleys far from home, across seas, into revelations they could never have imagined. And so the letter lies quietly on the table, its words still echoing in Lady Grantham's mind. To the unknowing eye, it is only ink on parchment. To Downton, it is the sound of history knocking at the door. The family gathers in the drawing room, the kind of space where secrets are too large to hide, but too delicate to shout. Heavy curtains frame tall windows, letting shafts of sunlight cut through the air, dust motes drifting like faint echoes of time. The letter rests on the table between them, still folded, but its presence has already begun to shape the mood of the room. Lord Grantham sits with his usual posture of authority, yet his fingers tap lightly on the armrest of his chair, betraying a worry he does not voice. To him, family and estate are inseparable, and any ripple in one threatens the other. His eyes search the faces around him, weighing how each might respond to the news, for he knows it is not only the words in the letter, but the reactions in this room that will shape their next step. Lady Mary, poised and deliberate, leans forward. There is steel in her gaze, not born of stubbornness alone but of responsibility. She has long accepted that the Abbey's survival rests heavily on her shoulders. Where others hesitate, she looks ahead. Yet even she cannot hide the flicker of unease. Change may be inevitable, but the letter's sudden arrival feels less like progress and more like a storm cloud drifting over familiar skies. Beside her, Edith's presence carries a different energy. She is softer, more thoughtful, her fingers clasped tightly together as though holding herself steady. Marriage and motherhood have given her strength, but the old wounds of being overlooked linger just beneath the surface. For Edith, a journey to France promises not only discovery, but perhaps a chance to step out of her sister's shadow once again. She does not say it aloud, but in her heart, she wonders if this letter could hold something meant for her, some truth that has waited too long. Then there is Violet, the Dowager Countess, seated like a queen in her own court. Time may have drawn lines across her face, but her wit remains sharper than any blade. She listens without interruption, her eyes gleaming with curiosity that is half amusement, half suspicion. To her, every letter is a puzzle, every revelation an opportunity to remind the world that she, above all, understands the delicate dance of survival. Where others see danger, she sees strategy. She is too wise to dismiss the letter, but too proud to let it shake her. Around them, silence thickens. The younger members of the family glance at one another, unsure whether to feel excitement or dread. Tom Branson, once an outsider, now part of the family by love and resilience, sits quietly, his Irish spirit both grounded and restless. He knows better than anyone that the Abbey cannot remain untouched by change. His voice, when it comes, will be steady, yet carrying the reminder that tradition alone cannot build a future. Each face tells a different story. Each heartbeat carries a different weight. Together they form a tapestry of emotions: loyalty, ambition, fear, pride. This is the essence of Downton. Not only the grandeur of its halls, but the fragile, unbreakable bond of a family caught between history and the future. The letter remains still on the table, but it no longer feels like paper. It feels like a mirror, reflecting back the hopes and doubts of everyone present. What they choose to do with its words will define not only their own lives, but the fate of Downton Abbey itself. The Abbey has always worn its silence like a crown, its stone walls and sweeping lawns untouched by the noise of the outside world. Yet, in this moment, something feels different. The familiar hum of routine no longer stands alone. It is interrupted by the faint rumble of a motor car rolling down the drive, the mechanical growl echoing against the centuries-old walls. Horses shift uneasily in their stalls, as if they too sense that the age of leather reins and carriage wheels is slipping away. Inside, tradition clings to every polished surface. The dining hall glows with the warm light of chandeliers, silver cutlery laid out with flawless precision. The servants move as if guided by muscle memory, each gesture perfected through years of repetition. Yet their whispers betray a restlessness. They speak of moving pictures, of actors and directors who turn life into story on a glowing screen. There are rumors that such a film crew may soon step through the Abbey's doors, transforming its solemn rooms into a stage. For some, the idea feels thrilling, a chance for Downton to live not only in memory, but in celluloid forever. For others, it feels like sacrilege, as though the dignity of the house could be tarnished by bright lights and shouted commands. Lady Mary senses this tension. She stands by the window, looking out at the drive where the car still idles. Her reflection stares back at her in the glass, split between the graceful woman she has always been and the determined figure she is becoming. To her, progress is not optional, it is survival. If the Abbey is to endure, it must adapt, just as she has. Still, even she cannot shake the unease of letting strangers walk its halls with cameras, capturing its secrets for the world to see. The Dowager Countess, of course, scoffs at the notion with her sharp humor. To her, the Abbey is not a backdrop, not a spectacle to be sold. Yet even her defiance carries the faint trace of curiosity. Perhaps she knows better than anyone that history is not preserved by standing still, but by finding clever ways to endure change without losing oneself. Downstairs, the younger servants dream aloud. What would it be like to see their faces on the big screen? To be part of something larger than Downton? Larger than the small world they have always known? The laughter that follows is filled with hope, but also with the awareness that such dreams rarely belong to people in their station. Still, the thought lingers, impossible to erase. The Abbey listens. It has no voice, yet it speaks through the way its walls absorb sound, the way its windows reflect light, the way its corridors stretch endlessly into shadows. It has stood through wars and weddings, scandals and secrets, but the hum of the modern world now presses closer than ever. Cars, telephones, cinemas. Each one is a reminder that the old ways, no matter how beloved, are slipping quietly into memory. And so the house waits. Between the clinking of teacups and the steady beat of footsteps on polished floors, there is an unspoken truth. Downton Abbey is no longer just a home. It is a battleground between past and present, tradition and change. The letter has opened the door, and the world is already stepping in. The letter does not sleep. Though folded and set aside, it lingers in every corner of the Abbey like a quiet storm waiting to break. At night, when the halls fall into stillness, and only the creak of old timbers can be heard, its words still echo in Lady Grantham's mind. She moves with grace, yet her eyes carry a weight unseen by those around her. Secrets have a way of finding their moment, and this letter has chosen its time. Whispers spread quickly. Servants in the corridors trade hushed words about the south of France, about a villa wrapped in sunlight and secrets. Some imagine romance, others scandal, but all know that when the Crawley family is called abroad, it means more than travel. It means change, and change rarely arrives without cost. Lady Grantham herself remains quiet, though the silence is telling. She avoids lingering too long in company, her gaze drifting to the windows as though searching for something far beyond the fields of Downton. For years she has kept a life carefully measured, her past locked away like a sealed chest. Yet this letter, with its elegant handwriting and its promises of revelations, has turned the key. What truth lies waiting in France? What memory refuses to stay buried? The family senses her unease. Lord Grantham studies her with concern, though he does not press her for answers. He knows too well that she will speak when she chooses, and not a moment sooner. Mary feels it too. The tension in her mother's voice, the flicker of hesitation in her usually steady hands. For Mary, mystery is not an indulgence, but a problem to be solved. She already wonders what must be done to shield the Abbey from whatever story the south of France may reveal. Meanwhile, the prospect of a journey electrifies others. Edith's thoughts race with the possibility of adventure. Tom, ever pragmatic, views it as both an escape and a chance for clarity. Even the servants catch glimpses of their own dreams in the idea of France, of sunlight, of freedom from the narrow boundaries of their world. Yet beneath their excitement lies a question no one dares to voice. What will Downton become if the secrets uncovered abroad find their way home? The suspense deepens with every passing day. Plans begin to form, preparations whispered in both drawing rooms and kitchens. Trunks are polished, clothes are chosen, and still the letter waits. its presence as sharp as the ticking of the Abbey's great clock. Time pushes them forward, step by step, into a journey that promises not only answers, but consequences. Downton Abbey itself seems to lean into the tension. The walls absorb the family's unease. The floors carry their hurried footsteps. The windows reflect faces lined with questions. This house has witnessed triumphs and betrayals, but what lies ahead feels different, heavier, as though the story now reaching for them is larger than anything that has come before. And so the suspense builds. A journey is set. A secret past whispers at the edges of revelation, and every character feels the pull of destiny. The Abbey, grand and immovable, watches silently, knowing that once the first step toward France is taken, nothing will remain the same. The Abbey stands tall against the fading light of evening, its windows glowing like watchful eyes, its towers shadowed against the horizon. Inside, the day settles into quiet, but the stillness feels charged, alive with questions that remain unanswered. The letter has done its work. It has unsettled the calm, open doors that no one can close, and set in motion a path that stretches far beyond the familiar grounds of Downton. The family prepares for what lies ahead, each in their own way. Lord Grantham hides his unease beneath steady words, but his gaze lingers longer than usual on the portraits of ancestors who seem to judge his every choice. Mary, unflinching, moves with the precision of someone who knows leadership often means walking into storms with her head held high. Edith's heart beats with both fear and longing, drawn to the possibility that destiny may finally tilt in her favor. And the Dowager Countess, sharp, amused, unyielding, allows the faintest smile, as though she alone knows that change is nothing to fear if one knows how to use it. Downstairs, the servants move with their own mixture of excitement and dread. They polish shoes that will soon step onto foreign soil, fold dresses into trunks that will cross borders, and whisper in corners about what such a journey could mean. For some, it is a chance to glimpse a world beyond their reach. For others, it is simply another duty, another way in which their fates are tied to the lives of those upstairs. Yet even they cannot deny the pull of the unknown. The Abbey itself listens. Its walls, seasoned with centuries, seem to hold their breath. This house has seen joy and sorrow, war and peace, beginnings and endings. But now, as the Crawleys prepare to step beyond its gates, it senses that the story about to unfold will not only test them, but redefine them. Change is no longer knocking politely at the door. It has stepped inside, taken a seat at the table, and demanded to be heard. As the final moments of the day pass, the camera draws back. The Abbey shrinks against the sweep of the countryside, the letter still resting in the minds of those who read it. The weight of destiny pressing forward. The music swells, strings carrying a note of both grandeur and tension, promising that what comes next will be filled with love, loyalty, betrayal, and discovery. And then, a single voice, calm but resolute, carries us into silence. Downton Abbey welcomes you back, not to what it was, but to what it must become. This is not simply another chapter. This is a new era,